Okay. Chapter 4. Laura. Laura. Shorty would take me to groovy, frantic scenes in different chicks and cats, beds, where with the lights and juke down mellow, everybody blew gauge and juiced back and jumped. I met chicks who were fine as May wine, and cats who were hip to all happenings. That paragraph is deliberate, of course. It's just to display a bit more of the slang was used by everyone I respected as hip in those days. And in no time at all, I was talking the slang like a lifelong hipster. Like hundreds of thousands of country-bred Negroes who had come to the northern black ghetto before me and have come since. I'd also acquired all the other fashionable ghetto adornments, the zoot suits and conch that I have described, liquor, cigarettes, then reefers, all to erase my embarrassing background. But I still harbored one secret humiliation. I couldn't dance. I can't remember when it was that I actually learned how. That is to say, I can't recall the specific night or nights. But dancing was the chief action at those pet parties. So I've no doubt about how and why my initiation into Lindy hopping came about, with alcohol or marijuana lightening my head and that wild music wailing away on those portable record players. It didn't take long to loosen up the dancing instincts in my African heritage. All I remember is that during some party around this time, when nearly everyone but me was up dancing, some girl grabbed me. They often would take the initiative and grab a partner, for no girl at those parties ever would dream that anyone present couldn't dance. And there I was out on the floor. I was up in the jostling crowd. And suddenly, unexpectedly, I got the idea. It was as though somebody had clicked on a light. My long-suppressed African instincts broke through and loose. Having spent so much time in Mason's white environment, I had always believed and feared that dancing involved a certain order or pattern of specific steps, as dancing is done by whites. But here, among my own less inhibited people, I discovered it was simply letting your feet, hands, and body spontaneously act out whatever impulses were steered by the music. From then on, hardly a party took place without me turning up, inviting myself if I had to, and Lindy hopping my head off. I'd always been fast at picking up new things. I made up for lost time now so fast that soon girls were asking me to dance with them. I worked my partners hard. That's why they like me so much. When I was at work, up in the Roseland man's room, I just couldn't keep still. My shan rack popped with the rhythm of those great bands rocking the ballroom. White customers on the shine stand especially would laugh to see my feet suddenly break loose on their own and cut a few steps. Whites are correct in thinking that black people are natural dancers. Even little kids are except for those Negroes today who are so integrated as I had been, that their instincts are inhibited. You know, those dancing jigaboo toys that you wind up I was like a live one. Music just wound me up. By the next dance for the Boston Black Folk, I remember that Lionel Hampton was coming in to play. I gave him my notice to the Roseland manager. When I told Ella why I had quit, she laughed aloud. I told her I couldn't dance. I told her I couldn't find some time to shine shoes and dance too. She was glad because she had never liked the idea of my working at that no prestige job. When I told Shorty, he said he'd learn I soon outgrow it anyway. Shorty could dance all right by himself. But for his own reasons, he never cared about going to the big dances. He loved just the music making end of it. He practiced his saxophone and listened to records. It astonished me that Shorty didn't care to go and hear the big bands play. He had his alto sax idol, Johnny Hodges, with Duke Ellington's band. But he said he thought too many young musicians were only copying the big band names on the same instrument. Anyway, Shorty was really serious about nothing except his music, and about working for the day when he could start his own little group to gig around Boston. The morning after I quit Roseland, I was down at the men's clothing store, bright and early. The salesman checked and found that I'd messed up only 1 week payment. I have A1 credit. I told him I just quit my job, but he said that didn't make any difference. I could miss paying them for a couple of weeks. He knew I'd get straight. This time I studied carefully everything in my size on the racks, and finally I picked out my second suit. It was a sharkskin gray with a big long coat and pants ballooning out at the knees and then tapering down to scuff so narrow that I had to take off my shoes to get him on and off. With the salesman urging me on, I got another shirt and a hat and new shoes, the kind that were just coming into hipster style, dark orange colored, with paper thin soles and knob style toes. It all added up to $70 or $80. It was such a red letter day that I even went and got my first barbershop conk. This time it didn't hurt so much, just as Shorty had predicted. That night I timed myself to hit Roseland as the thick of the crowd was coming in. In the thronging lobby, I saw some of the real Roxbury hipsters eyeing my zoot, and some fine women were giving me that look. I sauntered up to the men's room for a short drink from the pint in my inside coat pocket. My replacement was there, a scared, narrow-faced, hungry-looking little brown-skinned fellow just in town from Kansas City. And when he recognized me, he couldn't keep down his admiration and wonder. I told him to keep cool, that he'd soon catch onto the happenings. Everything felt right when I went into the ballroom. Ham's band was working, and that big wax floor was packed with people, lindy hopping like crazy. I grabbed some girl I'd never seen, and the next thing I knew, we were out there lindying away and grinning at each other. It couldn't be finer. It couldn't have been finer. I'd been lindying previously only in cramped little apartment living rooms, and now I had room to maneuver. Once I really got myself warmed up and loosened up, I was snatching partners from among the hundreds of unattached freelancing girls along the sidelines. Almost every one of them could really dance, and I just about went wild. Ham's band wailing was whirling girls so fast their skirts were snapping. Black girls, brown skins, high yellows, even a couple of white girls were there, boosting them over my hips, my shoulders, into the air. Though I wasn't quite 16 then, I was tall and raw-boned and looked like 21. I was also pretty strong for my age. Circling, tap dancing, I was underneath them when they landed, doing the flapping eagle, the kangaroo, and the split. After that, I never missed a Roseland Lindy Hop as long as I stayed in Boston. The greatest Lindy dancing partner I had, everything considered, was a girl named Laura. I met her at my next job when I quit shoe shining. Ella was so happy that she went around asking about a job for me, one she would approve. Just 2 blocks from our house, the Townsend drugstore was about to replace its soda fountain clerk, a fellow who was leaving to go off to college. When Ella told me, I didn't like it. She knew I couldn't stand those Hill characters. But speaking my mind, right then would have made Ella mad. I didn't want that to happen. So I put on the white jacket and started serving up sodas, sundaes, splits, shakes, and all the rest of the fountain stuff to those fancy acting Negroes. Every evening, when I got off at 8 and came home, Ella would keep saying, I hope you'll meet some of these nice young people your age here in Roxbury. But those penient squares who came in there putting on their millionaires airs, the young ones and the old ones both only annoyed me. People like to sleep in made for Beacon Hill white folks who used to come in here with her oh my dear manners and order corn plasters in the Jude drugstore for black folks, or the hospital cafeteria line serving woman sitting there on her day off with a cat fur around her neck, telling the proprietor she was a dietitian. Both of them knowing she was lying. Even the young ones, my age, whom Ella was talking about. The soda fountain was one of their hangouts. They soon had me ready to quit, with their accent so phonied up that if you just heard them and didn't see them, you wouldn't even know they were Negroes. I couldn't wait for 8 o'clock to get home to eat out of those soul food pots of Ella's, then get dressed in my suit and head for some of my friends' places in town to Lindy Hop and get high, or something for relief from those Hill clowns. Before long, I didn't see how I was going to be able to stick out there 8 hours a day. I nearly didn't. I remember one night, I nearly quit because I had hit the number of 10 cents. Because I had hit the number of 10 cents the first time I had ever hit. On one of the sideline bets that I've made in the drugstore. Yes, there were several runners. There were several runners on the hill. Even dignified Negroes played the numbers. I won $60, and Shorty and I had a ball with it. I wish I had hit for the daily dollar that I played with my town man, paying him by the week. I would surely have quit the drugstore. I could have bought a car. Anyway, Laura lived in a house that was cater corner across the street from the drugstore. After a while, as soon as I saw her coming in, I started making up a banana split. She was a real bug for them, and she came in late every afternoon after school. I imagine I've been shoving that ice cream dish under her nose for 5 or 6 weeks before somehow it began to sink in that she wasn't like the rest. She was certainly the only hill girl that came in there and acted in any way friendly and natural.